Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, spoiler season continues to roll on. I've already made a train, joke, pun thing, so I'm trying to think. Rolling on tumbleweeds. There we go. Deserts, tumbleweeds. There we go. We got there. With all that said, let's jump into Outlaws of Thunder Junction spoilers. So, first up, we've got, Archmage's Newt. Cute little dude. 2/2 Salamander Mount for 1 and a blue. You ever wanted to ride a salamander? Me neither. Saddle 3. When it deals combat damage to a player, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. That card gains flashback 0 until end of turn if Archmage's Newt is saddled. That's spicy. So basically, hey, recursion? I mean, not recursion because you have to utilize it right away, but you don't have to, I guess, but it's kind of recursion, right? You can utilize the card out of your graveyard one time. And it can actually be free if you saddle this. The saddle cost is 3, which is higher than we've seen for other ones, essentially. But again, the payoff can be absolutely massive. If you've got a small insert sorcery in your graveyard that you're like, I could probably get this Newt through, whatever. And then, actually cast that. Maybe don't saddle, but if you've got a massive card in there that's oh yeah, it's an 8 mana sorcery. Yeah, I'll do that. So saddling it first, making sure you can get it through. It's a pretty specific card. I mean, again, for a Mountain Tribal deck, sure, yes. For a big spells deck, maybe. Again, if you've got ways to get creatures through, so make sure you're keeping that in mind. The new Escape Tunnel, or whatever, obviously works with this too. Next up, Blood Hustler, a 1/1 Vampire Rogue for 1 and a black. Whenever you commit a crime, get a counter on it. Triggers only once each turn. 3 and a black, target opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. I mean, if you have infinite mana, you could get infinite counters on this, but you'd already just win. You can't get infinite counters because of the limitation, I was going to say. If it didn't have a limitation, but that doesn't matter anyways because you just win the game anyways. Yeah. Next up, Bounding Felidar, a 4/7 Cat Beast Mount for 5 and a white. Whenever it attacks while saddled, put a counter on each other creature you control. You gain 1 life for each of those creatures. Saddle 2. I mean, I guess a go-wide strategy could potentially consider this. It's a lot of mana, though, and a lot of dedication to do that. Saddle 2 is not that big of a deal, but yeah, the mana value is. So probably not really going to see play outside of again, if you have a Mountain Tribal deck, you're all the saddle cards, then yes. Next up, Breaches is back. Breaches has been here, there, and everywhere the past couple years. Breaches is back, a 3/3 Goblin Pirate that's apparently going to destroy a train track, with Menace, that costs 3 mana, and is it? Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, flip a coin. I like where this is going. I actually haven't read this one yet. When you win the flip, copy that spell. You may choose your targets to the copy. When you lose the flip, Breaches, Blast Master deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target. So, I mean, I guess you are getting value either way. I mean, it's interesting, right? It is interesting. You get, choose targets to the copy, flip copy the spell. So you're getting a copy, potentially a permanent copy of something. Again, it doesn't restrict it to, just instant sorceries. That is nice. So you can potentially just get a massive thing on the second spell that you cast. That being said, I mean, if you lose the flip, you're dealing out damage equal to the spell's mana value to a target. You get something either way, which that's nice, right? I think Wizards are starting to go that direction where, there's less failing. I think that's kind of the fun of, a coin flip commander, though, where it's not I get this good value or this good value. It's no, failing is okay. Sometimes you fail at things and just have, the bigger, benefit, essentially, to the coin flip win versus the, I mean, again, you could just have, when you win the flip, you copy it and deal damage. And then if you lose the flip, you get nothing. It's okay to get nothing. I don't know. That's just me, maybe. It is a pretty cool commander. The pretty cool design. Maybe I'm just hating on too much because I was expecting there to be a fail. But yeah, there's not a fail. So, I mean, I guess there is a cost to it sacrificing an artifact. But these days, come on. Sacrifice a clue, sacrifice a treasure, sacrifice a servo, whatever you need to sacrifice. You're probably not getting rid of something that's actually, all that great because it doesn't say non-token. So yeah. Anyways, Breaches, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I wish it was a bit more hit or miss, though. Next up, Bucolic Ranch? Is that the name? Desert, tap for colors, tap at 1 of any color, spend only cast a mount spell. Mount spell tribal, you want this. Pay 3, tap, look, top card, your life, it's a mount card, reveal it in your hand. Yeah, mount spell tribal. There you go. Moving on, Cactus Folk Sure Shot, a 4/4 plant mercenary with reach for 4 mana in Gruul, Ward 2. This cactus has a crossbow for some reason. Anyways, the beginning of combat on your turn, other creature control of power 4 greater gain temporal and haste all of turn. Interesting. I mean, giving trampled haste on your turn is quite nice. That's the only time that those two actually really even matter all that much. I mean, technically, I guess activated abilities on opponent's turn for haste, but interesting. I mean, I guess for like a big creature strategy, they definitely could consider this because it is slightly protected at ward 2. It is slightly, I mean, it's even powerful itself, right? I mean, the power 4 or, greater or 3 or greater, this obviously hits that on the 4. And obviously, giving your creatures trample and haste is nice for those big creatures. So, yeah, it's interesting. A creature-based strategy could definitely consider this. Next up, Claim Jumper. Lots of decks can consider this. Wizards pushes cards sometimes, and this one's good. 3/3, Rabbit Mercenary with Vigilance, 4/2, and a white. They seem to keep doing this with white, where they're like, we could give white value at lower rarities and, allow you to utilize cards to help you ramp or help you draw cards, but those good cards, the only ones that people actually use will be at rare or mythic so that they become expensive, and then we can reprint them in other products, and then people will buy those products. Haha. Anyways. 3/3 Vigilant, Rabbit Mercenary, enters the battlefield. Opponent controls more lands than you. You may search life for a planescard on the battlefield tapped. Then if an opponent controls more lands, and you repeat this process once. You search life, display shuffle. Basically, hey, is someone ahead of you by 2 with lands? Which, you're in white. So probably if you're in mono white, yeah, that's probably the case. I mean, maybe not super early, but maybe it still is actually the case because, again, you can choose to hold back a land before you play this. So you play this, you don't play your land drop until you do that, and you hit 2 lands because someone other like the green player there played Rampant Growth earlier, and they were ahead of you on turns. So yeah, there's definitely cases where this can be like, oh yeah, ramp 2. Also, Blink decks are gonna love this too potentially. None ones that aren't in green, but like Brago decks, yeah. Hey, later on in the game, oh, that green player's got 10 lands. I've got 6. Cool. Now I'm at 8 because I blinked this. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a card that is, I mean, I'm not going to say push, but again, it's one that Wizards knows is going to sell because they're like, white players will do anything. They'll do anything to go get all the lands. So here you go. There's your land. It is limited planes, which is good. It does say planes card too, I guess. Versus basic. So it's not basic, it's just any plains card. So that is a benefit if you spend more money in your budget on lands. There you go. Next up, Explosive Derailment. Instant for a single red mana. Plus, it's a spree card. Choose some options. +2 to deal 4 damage to our creature, or +2 to destroy target artifact. I mean, 3 mana to destroy an artifact is absurdly costly. Why? Couldn't that just be 1? Couldn't that just be 1? Couldn't that just be 1? Yes? Right? Right? Anyone? No? Okay, yeah, it's got to be 1. That's overcosted. Okay, it's a limited card. Next up, Failed Fording. An instant for 1 and a blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand if you control a desert, surveil 1. If you've got a desert deck and it has blue in it, congratulations. This is a great bounceable for you. If you don't, there's many better options. Next up, Ferocification. I think we got the Ferocity. There we go. We got there. Enchantment for 2 and a red. I'm throwing off now. At the beginning of combat, your turn, choose 1 target creature control +2/+0 until end of turn. Target creature control gets haste and menace until end of turn. Don't know why I read that backwards, but I did. Typically, I mean, if you've got an enchantment to play, you usually want to give, and you really care about your team having haste. You care about your whole team having haste, like a fervor type effect. There are some decks out there that really just care about, okay, like 1 creature having haste. Like if you're just getting 1 creature out at a time, typically, you're like, okay, cool, I'm fine with that. Or if you're a commander, you like to activate that ability to have haste. It is nice that you get the extra menace or the +2/+0. There's no flopping with this card, essentially, as long as you have a creature in play, because you're always going to get a benefit. That being said, is this going to replace cards or be better than cards or even go alongside of cards like Rising of the Day? That fervor type cards where it's like, your creatures have haste for 3 mana. No, I don't think so. Next up, Gila Courser, a 4/2 lizard mount. Apparently everyone just wants to ride lizards, apparently. Saddle 1 for 2 and a red. Attacks while saddled, exile top card library. End of next turn, you may play a card. Impulse Draw. You're probably not going to see a lot of play anywhere. I mean, Impulse Draw is nice, but again, having to tap a creature to do that, yeah. Next up, Inventive Wingsmith, a 2/4 Dwarf Artificer for 3 mana and white. At the beginning of your end step, you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn. An Inventive Wingsmith does have a flying counter on it, but a flying counter on it. I always wanted to fly, and as long as I do nothing right here and procrastinate, I will fly. Makes no sense, but congratulations. I guess it makes sense where it's like, I was working on this instead of doing this other thing. That makes sense, I guess. Okay, fine. Not going to see any play. Next up, Laughing Jasper Flint. Definitely going to see play. 4/3 Lizard Rogue for 3 mana and Rakdos.
Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to other types. That's kind of funny. Like forced into mercenary, like if you threaten someone or threaten a creature, essentially. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X the number of outlaws you control. Again, mercenaries are outlaws. Keep that in mind. Till end of turn, you may cast spells from one of those cards and add mana of any type that can be cast. Type can be cast with those spells. Anyways, basically, hey, yeah, the more and more creatures that you will temporarily steal, most likely, if you're not in blue. Red has temporary steal effects for the most part. There are some things that you can do probably with Feigned Death type effects too, where there's got to be some that like bring it back and play into your control. Regardless, being able to play off the top opponent's library is another way to steal things, obviously, or like Gonti type effects too. If you steal opponent's creatures, or, you know, cast their creatures, you just get more and more of those in play. This helps you dig down deeper into opponent's library. They can be quite good. So, yeah, this is definitely an interesting one that can definitely utilize some theft effects, some temporary theft effects, some, well, you know, cast things from exile benefits as well, and other ways to cast things from opponent's libraries as well. Interesting. Next up, Map the Frontier, source for 4 mana. Explosive Vegetation gets worse and worse every day. Search live for 2 basic land cards and/or desert cards on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. So there you go. If you go get some deserts, I mean, this is better than Explosive Vegetation. If you don't, it's the exact same thing as Explosive Vegetation, and it gave you that option. So, yeah, Explosive Vegetation. It's a ramp spell. If you have a desert deck, congratulations. A good spell for you. Next up, Mystical Tether. An enchantment for 2 and a white. You may cast this flash if you pay 2 more to cast it, as though it flash. So basically, get it out there quickly. But also, what enters the battlefield, exile target artifact creature and opponent controls still leaves the battlefield. Yeah, probably more of a limited card. I mean, like it's a Fiend Hunter type card. Oblivion Ring type card, but it's more limited because it's like specific types of permanents. And like that flash factor probably isn't good enough to be like, yeah, I'll play this over Oblivion Ring if I was going to be picking one of the two. Next up, Oasis Gardener, a 2/2 Scarecrow. Oh no, Reaper King decks. Look out, another Scarecrow. Costs 3, enters battlefield to gain 2 life. Tap at 1 of any color. Yeah, I mean, Scarecrow decks, Reaper decks, Reaper King decks will love this card. I mean, just because it is a Scarecrow. It's also a mana rock for you that can help you fix mana. That's nice. So, yeah, pretty good for those. Other decks, not good at all. Next up, Omenport Vigilante, a 2/2 human mercenary for 2 mana in white. Has double strike as long as you commit a crime this turn. That's just hilarious. Oh, I guess, like you're trying to stop, but it's you committing the crime. It's like, my teammate over here just broke into that, you know, restaurant and just stole a bunch of money. Great. Now I can hit harder. Why? I don't know why this character is inspired by their own team's crime, but they are. Yeah, not going to see play in Commander most likely. Next up, One Last Job. This one might. Sorcery for 2 and a white plus, and it's got Spree. Actually, I haven't read this card yet, so I'm just guessing because it looks cool. Pay 2. Pay an extra 2, I should say. Return to our creature card from graveyard of the battlefield. So 5 mana reanimate. That's a bit much compared to what usually is at 4. That being said, this is a flexible card. Plus 1, return target mount or vehicle card from graveyard of the battlefield. So if you've got a vehicle tribal deck, or now actually a mount or vehicle tribal deck, or both, congratulations. That's good. Also return as well. Another one is plus 1, return target or equipment card from graveyard of the battlefield attached to a creature control. Nice. Attaching it right away obviously saves a lot. So, I mean, the kinds of decks that might want to utilize this are, obviously, if you have a mount or vehicle travel deck, probably, definitely. I mean, because you can utilize that, like, plus returning another creature. That's kind of nice. Other than that, if you have, say, like, an Aura equipment deck, and you've got creatures in it, obviously, then yes, that too. If it's just a creature deck, probably not. If you don't have, like, Aura's equipment or mount or vehicles, it's just, like, there's more effective and cheaper ways to actually just reanimate creatures. Next up. Ornery Tumblewag. Oh, this is a very, 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 very scary-looking Brushwag. A 2/2 Brushwag mount that costs 2 and a green. At the beginning of combat, your turn, get a counter target creature. When it attacks while saddled, double the number of counters on target creature. Saddle 2. This thing can get massive in no time. Love it. So yeah, beginning of combat, put a counter on this, saddle it up, swing. You're going to double. Double again, double again, double again. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, a counters-based strategy could definitely utilize something like this. And also, again, especially one that's like, hey, yeah, I can double up whatever number of counters I want. Or, sorry, whatever creatures counters. That can be very, very good. Next up, Outlaws Fury. You look mad. Instant for 2 and a red. Creature control plus 2 0 until end of turn. If you control an outlaw, exile top of your library until your next turn, play that card. Outlaw travel decks, sure, consider this one. It's a good, like, you know, pump my team effect, which the typical cost for, like, plus 2, plus 0 in red at instant speed is usually 3. But now it's all, oh, you can also get, like, impulse draw. You can replace this if you have Outlaws. So there you go. I guess if your commander is one of those types too, then you might want to consider it as well. But again, like, if it's a go-wide strategy that has a commander that considers that, then maybe, again. Next up, Peerless Rope Master. A 4/4 human rogue for 5 mana in blue. Enters the battlefield, return to 1 target creature. Tapped creature to its owner's hand. Limited card. Next up, Reach for the Sky. Of course, they had to have a card named that. Enchantment Aura with Flash. Enchant creature for 4 mana in green. Enchant creature gets +3/+2 and has Reach. Of course, that has Reach. I was going to say it better have Reach if it's Reach for the Sky. Put into a grave from the battlefield, draw a card. They're starting to do this more often. I mentioned this on another episode, but basically, like, auras have always just been a not bad type, but like it's a 2-for-1, right? If you put it on something and that something gets dealt with, it's like, oh, I lost 2 cards to the price of their 1 card. Not good. They're starting to do this more often where it's like you either draw a card when it comes into play or draw it when it's dealt with or it comes back to you. So yeah, there you go. If you have an aura-based strategy, maybe consider something like this. Next up, Rodeo Pyromancers, a 3/4 human mercenary for 3 and a red. Whenever you cast your first spell turn, add red. I'm pretty sure we saw this one in a leak, actually, and I was like, that is crazy good, actually. Especially for a common. Like, just extra free 2 mana on each of your turns, essentially. Again, or each turn, I should say, not just each of your turns. So, it's kind of like Frontier Siege, I guess. Again, on your turn, we get, like, free mana, but Frontier Siege is twice on your turn. But, like, with each trip on the table, this can give you 8 mana. So again, like a Spellslinger type strategy, one that's like looking to play in your opponent's turns, like ones that maybe care about like casting a second spell on opponent's turn, like Jorian or other ones we've seen more recently too. Like, yeah, that's quite good. Being like, okay, I cast for 1 mana my Expedite in an opponent's turn just to like cantrip and draw and whatnot. Awesome. Maybe I gave one of their creatures haste. I don't know why. But also cool, I get 2 mana back, which I can cast something even bigger on that. So it's like, this is pretty good actually. Very interesting. And also, if you can make clone copies of it or whatever, have fun getting an absurd amount of mana. Next up, Rooftop Assassin. A 2/2 vampire assassin with flash, flying, and lifelink for 4 mana. Is this Rooftop Assassin? Are they like murdering people on roofs? Or are they just running from roof to roof and then like finding people other places? Or are they just clearly just people that are on rooftops that they're going after? Don't know. Enters the battlefield, a short target creature and opponent controls dealt damage this turn. Nope. Yep. Limited card. Next up. Spring Splasher, a 2/1 frog beast for 2 mana in blue. Looks ferocious. Attacks, target creature fang player controls is -3/-0 till turn. It's just funny to think about that. Like, this like giant dragon's like over there like, I shall destroy the world. And then the Spring Splasher's like, I will attack. And then it's like, oh my gosh, that thing's frightening. I'm scared. I can't hit as hard. It's funny. Yeah, limited card. Next up, Sterling Keykeeper, a 2/2 human mercenary for 2 mana. Pay 2 tap. Tap target non-mountain creature. That is so specific. Limited card. Voracious Varmint. A 2/2 Varmint. I love that Varmint is a creature type now. Vigilance for 2 mana in green. Varmint's a creature type, but we can't get Pig to be a creature type. I'm just going to keep saying this over and over again. Pig used to be a creature type. Now it's not. Now they're all boars for some reason. Pigs. Pigs. Thank you. Pay 1, sacrifice Voracious Varmint to retire artifact or enchantment. This is yet another one of those cards that's like, hey, do you like your removal to be mostly creature-based? Yes? Okay, then maybe consider this one because, yeah, this is a pretty good card. I mean, is it like Cankerbloom good? No, probably not unless you really care about the vigilance. But like Cankerbloom plus this, it's not bad. It's not bad. Next up, Wanted Griffin, a 3/2 Griffin with flying for 4 mana. What did this Griffin do to become wanted? When it dies, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with you know what the drill is. I've said this a million times. Yeah, can tap and pump something. Yeah, nope. Kind of 4 mana for 2 bodies. Not all that great. I mean, the kinds of decks that would want this typically are like Aristocrat style, but that's overcosted for what it does. The fact that it's 3/2 flyer doesn't matter all that much. I mean, it does, but like with those kind of decks, you're just like, I just want quantity of creatures, not like quality of creatures. Next up, this is one I'm going to dive into. Oh my goodness, is this going to be a salt-inducing card? Okay. Ariette the Beguiler. I never know how to say that name, and of course it came back in this set, and I'm just like, I didn't know how to say it in Eldraine, and now I don't know how to say it now. It's like, Ariette? I think I'm just going to stick with Ariette, not Ariette. Ariette. The Beguiler, a 4/4 human warlock with lifelink for 4 mana in Esper. Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a non-land permanent opponent controls, non-land, settle down everyone, with mana value less than or equal to that aura's mana value, gain control of that permanent for as long as that aura is attached to it. Okay. So, a couple of things here, and correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong on these rules, but getting rid of Ariette will not exchange control back of the creature. It does not matter if, say like again, I control Ariette, let's say that, and I aura attached to one of your creatures, and I steal it, and now it's mine. And then you're like, ha ha ha, I shall destroy Ariette. I don't think you get control of it again, because it doesn't say anything about, like, this leaving the battlefield. It's like, no,
as long as that aura is attached to it. So if that aura just sticks on it, if you can't get rid of that, I have just all these spells in my deck now that are auras that are essentially, what's like the you control enchanted creature, just like the base, like control magic, I think is the card essentially, right? Is that what that one's called, I believe? Like the aura that just like, that started it all when it comes to like stealing someone's creature with that? Yes, basically, and it's not just creature again, any non-land permanent. So yeah, plenty of things you can steal. I mean, if you want to be mean, you're just like, well, I'm a player that has to use mana rocks because I'm an Esper. I'm not in green, other than Wayfarer's Bauble, which is lovely and amazing. Yeah, I'm going to steal other player over there who's playing a non-green deck, and I'm going to steal their mana rocks. So I go up in mana, and they go down in mana. Yeah, that's kind of salt-inducing. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Now, see, again, like, what I said is, like, it does say non-land. Thank goodness. Also, this commander is not in green. Thank goodness. Otherwise, you'd just be like, yeah, I'm running every single one of the Aura Enchant lands in play. And again, in Commander, it is very rude. Taboo, some would say, in certain play groups in LGSs to actually destroy lands, right? It's typically rule 0. Players typically don't want to do that, or they want to have that done in Commander. But there's kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, blurred line when it comes to stealing lands, because it's not destroying, and you could get it back if you destroy my aura. Luckily, they took out that option, because this would be pretty obnoxious if you're like, oh, I wild growth your land. I mean, I'm saying it if it had green too, but like there are blue effects too that are like, enchanted land is an island. And you could be like, I enchant your land. No, it's mine. And then you would lose all your friends, and then they'd leave you forever. But no, this commander already might lose your friends because it's pretty obnoxious. Like, every single card in your deck can, not every card in your deck, but like, you could literally probably just build, 37 lands plus whatever, that 62, auras. There you go. That's your deck. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. Like, you probably need some other things in there, but like, you essentially have removal with your auras because like you are stealing them from your opponents. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you got that thing in play that's frustrating for me to go against. I'll steal it. Yeah, I'll steal it. It's mine now. So it's like kind of removal. You can do a lot of damage with that to potentially friendships. So this is that kind of commander where you probably should ask your play group if they're okay with it ahead of time, because like straight up theft like this, you usually don't see it on commanders too often. And this is also, Ariette is also a commander that was very, 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 very popular from Wilds of Eldraine and took auras in a different direction, and it's doing that again. So I can definitely see some fans of that Ariette being like, yeah, let's do it again, ha ha ha. And then the friends of that play group are like, no, please don't. I mean, I think it's fair game personally, but players don't like when the things are stolen, especially their commander, and this is very easy to steal people's commanders with. Now, I will say again, it has to be equal to that aura's mana value, less than or equal to that aura's mana value. So there's only so many auras that are high mana value. That being said, there's plenty that are like 5 or lower. So like you can take a lot of things that are going to be in play in Commander. Again, like your opponent plays a Smothering Tithe and you're like, that's my Smothering Tithe now. That's what you get. So yeah, let's go through some cards that work really well with this one. Again, do not buy cards for this commander unless you know or have asked your playgroup that they're going to be okay with it, or people at your LGS, because this is the kind of commander people are like, I'm not playing against that. Sorry. Like, I don't want to. So, yeah, make sure you check out that card list in the description below. And of course, as always, let's jump into the budget buys and price your picks. Now, first up, some cards that I would recommend utilizing with a commander like this are ones that are flexible in what they can enchant. I mean, a lot of the things are probably going to be like enchant creature. That's just what most auras are for the most part. That being said, I mean, don't use enchant player. That doesn't help you. But enchant permanent is just as wide as you can get, right? Curator's Ward, enchant permanent has hexproof. When enchant permanent leaves the battlefield, if it was historic, draw 2 cards. So this is a card that's like, oh, not only am I stealing something, but I'm also protecting it. So good luck getting it back. I mean, you can get it back by removing the aura, obviously. But you got to really dedicate a resource to that. And other players can't just deal with the actual creature or whatever I steal again. Like if they have like destroy target creature and I stole the creature, it's like, no, you can't do that because I have hexproof on it. So make sure you're considering that. And also, again, if you steal someone's like legendary creature or legendary thing and it gets destroyed, you get to draw 2 cards, which is nice. Indestructibility. Speaking of which, enchant permanent is indestructible. You're like, no, I'm helping you. And this is 4 mana. And typically you'd be like, the lower costed ones are better. I wish there was a lower costed one. No. This being at 4 is better because you get more options of what you can steal. So you can just be like, hey, I'm helping you out. Look, that thing that you got in play, it's very valuable. It's very destroyable. I'm just trying to save your commander for you. Here, now it's mine. It's indestructible. You're welcome. You're welcome. Next up, Holy Mantle. My goodness, I love this card. Enchant creature, +2/+2 protects for creatures. Again, I think when it comes to like your baseline of what you should be expecting with this kind of a commander and how you're building around it, I would build, again, some flexible cards like the ones I just talked about that can enchant basically anything, or at least have a couple of different permanent types that they can, equip to. And make sure it doesn't say you control. There's also ones that say you control, so don't do that. That being said, I would probably be like, most of my auras that enchant creatures should probably be like 4 or more mana. Like, yeah, you can have a couple that are lower, but like, typically when it's like, oh, I wanted that creature, I want to steal that creature, you're going to be getting into the middle to higher amounts of mana for things, essentially, is what you're going to be trying to target. So, Holy Mantle, +2/+2, protection from creatures on that creature. Yes, please. Protected from anything those creatures have activated ability-wise. And then also is protected in combat as well. Like, you can block with that creature permanently. You can also just, like, swing with that creature permanently, and it will never be blocked. So, yeah, an amazing card for that kind of situation, especially when it's, again, 4 mana, control magic, +2/+2, protection from creatures. Just pretend that, again, it's like, control a creature permanently. On top of all these. On Sarah's Wings, enchant creature. Enchant creature is legendary. It gets +1/+1, flying, vigilance, lifelink. Again, you're like pumping up your opponent's creature, but you're like, but it's mine, so I'm just going to hit you hard with your own creature. And also make it legendary, which I don't know if that really matters too much, but probably doesn't for you. Next up, Fool's Demise. This is kind of a fun one. When enchant creature is put in a graveyard, return that creature to the play under your control. When this is put in the graveyard, return it back to its owner's hand. These return back to the owner's hands one can be really, really good because it's just like, oh, I get to do it again. But especially with this one where, like, again, if a wrath happens and that creature that you stole gets taken out, because this is like, the whole premise of this card is like, okay, the opponent has the creature, and then when this dies, you get it. But with this commander, it's like, no. You steal the creature. When it dies, you get the creature back again, and there's no aura on it, so it's a permanent steal then at that point too. And also, you get this back in your hand so you can do it again. So this would be a very, 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 very potent card in a deck like this. Next up, Mammoth Umber. We talked about protection as well. Totem Armor is one you consider as well. If enchant creature be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. So that's a nice little protection for it as well. But also +3/+3 vigilance. Yeah, again, take the best creature on the board that is 5 mana or less again. It is yours now. It's going to hit harder. It can block for you too. And also, again, if your creature is going to get taken out, you can actually just sacrifice the aura instead. Righteous Authority, enchant creature, +1/+1 for each card in its controller's hand, which again is me, your hand. So if you got a decent amount of cards, congratulations. Gain your draw step of enchant creature controller. If I could talk, player draws extra card. You get extra card too. So again, this is like creature theft plus pump plus card advantage. What's not to love about that? Speaking of that, Hero Virois. Cost reduction can be absolutely huge with this kind of a commander, again, especially if you have a glut of aura spells. Aura spells you cast cost once to cast. Whenever you cast a spell targets this, which you probably won't, +1 on it, so that's nice. That being said, Shram, hey, yeah, you know what's really good with enchantments and auras? Enchantresses, and Shram is one as well. 2/2 Dwarf, Advisor, whenever you cast an aura, or equipment or vehicle, but most likely, again, aura is what you're going to be doing. Draw a card. Low to the ground, amazing card draw engine for you. Mason Enchantress, of course. It's probably a more broad one. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you draw a card. So again, these kinds of effects, it's like whenever enchantments or whenever auras are coming to play, whatever it is, draw a lot of cards with these. Moving on, let's talk about the pricier picks. Again, cards outside of my budget, but might be within yours. Regardless, all these cards, again, are in that card list link in the description below. Check some out. Songbird's Blessing, an aura for 4 mana enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, reveal cards to the top of your library to reveal an aura card. You may put that card on the battlefield. If you don't put it in your hand, the rest of your library in a random order. Literally, this is, hey, steal a creature, attack with that creature, steal another creature. Or whatever permanent, essentially. Yeah, essentially this is just steal one thing to steal more things. Brutally effective card in a deck like this. Next up, Followed Footsteps. This is also hilarious too. Enchant creature. Again, you're stealing the creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a token that's a copy of enchant creature to the battlefield. So you stole their creature, and then, rubbing salt in the wound that is there, that fresh wound that your opponent has, you're like, hey, oh, I guess I have your creature and I get an extra copy of it. Oh, darn. It's even better when that creature has like a great ETB and you're like, oh, I guess I stole your Sun Titan. I'm sorry. I get an extra copy of it. I swing with your Sun Titan, and I get 2 things out of my graveyard. And then you lose all your friends. Next up, Gift of Doom. Speaking of losing friends, equipped creature has Death Touch and Indestructible. Yeah, again, a way to essentially say, you know what? This is not going to be dealt with for a while, and also it's going to be hard to deal with, and it's going to be hitting hard. And also this can be a morph creature, which is quite funny because your opponent's going to be like, why is there a morph in this? Oh no! And they're going to remember that this was the thing. Yeah, have fun with that. Octopus Umbra. Enchant creature. Enchant creature's base power and toughness 8/8 and has one of its creature attacks. You may tap target creature to power 8 or less. Totem armor as well. So again, protection. Also just massive pump effect for the majority of creatures out there. Again, you can literally steal like your opponents. I mean, I guess it would have to be like tapped, but like Mother of Runes. You could take their Mother of Runes, turn into an 8/8 absolute monster, and just start smacking people. I mean, do I recommend that versus stealing other things? Probably not. But yeah, being able to steal one of your opponent's best creatures and say, now you are much larger, congratulations, and you have an attack trigger. Oh, and you also get protected by this. Lovely. Speaking of protection, though, Spectra Ward. Oh my goodness. +2/+2 protection from all colors, Spectres, and remove auras. Never going to target it. Cannot be blocked by basically anything except for, I guess, colors, creatures, artifact creatures that don't have any colors. Yeah, have fun with that. A great card. Again, a great theft card. Celestial Mantle. This is so fun. Check it. It's +3/+3. When it deals combat to a player, double its controller's life total. So, yeah, again, steal your opponent's creature, probably an evasive one, and then smack them in the face with it for more damage, and then double your life total. And be like, this is lovely. And they're like, you took my favorite creature. Yeah, you can see why this is going to be a little obnoxious. Eldrazi Conscription. This too. Enchant creature. +10/+10 as Trampolator, which is basically, that should be a thing, right? We have Flample. Can it be Tramplinator? Nah, that's too loud. All right, Trample Annihilator 2. Gross. So essentially, yeah, I take the best creature on the board. It is mine. Oh, and by the way, you are massive. You smack opponents with that damage coming through. And also, Annihilator 2 is one of the saltiest things out there. Sacrifice some permanents when I'm smacking you with your own creature. Thank you. So, yes, this is also an amazing card to utilize. But now as this episode is coming to close, it's time for me to hear from you. So, in the comments below, let me know your thoughts are on these spoilers. A lot of exciting ones, and one particular salt-inducing one, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, this is one where I would ask my play group if they're okay with it. They'd probably be okay with it, depending on just like the exact build around it, but please, 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 before you pick up like a full deck around this commander, or even just a couple cards around this commander, ask your playgroup first. This is one of those types of commanders that is so salt-inducing that there are some players out there who can be like, yeah, I'm not actually okay with playing against that. So please keep that in mind. Be respectful of the other people that you play with. And also, Wizards, thank you for being respectful, at least a little bit, and being like, non-land, and also not having this commander gain green instead of blue, I guess. That would have been brutal. I guess it wouldn't make sense. You'd have to, because the blue's the part about the stealing, right? So, it'd have to be, 4-color then, which, you know what, just replace that generic cost with a green. There you go. Replace the non-land with any permanent, and then there you go. You're just like, I played my wild growth on your land, and it is mine now. Gross. Luckily, that's not the case. Regardless, still a brutally effective commander, one that is exciting. If you are interested in that one, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Stay tuned to the channel for more exciting quick takes and spoilers. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.